Hello, everyone, and welcome to Garden Gossip, the home and garden show, with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Garden Gossip Show with Nancy and Lisa, the mother-daughter travel team and publishers of two digital interactive publications. We have Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine. That's our variety publication that does cover gardening and nature, food and wine and travel and history and art, everything. And we also publish Parks and Travel Magazine, obviously covering parks and travel, but also our Love Your Parks tour, where we are traveling full-time on a quest to visit and document all of America's national parks and parks, because all parks matter. And we're also sharing different stories from the communities. So you can keep up with all of it at bigblendmagazines.com. Today, we're very excited to have Margot Carrera back on the show. Margot is a fine art nature photographer, and she is known for capturing landscape scenery, flowers, and wildlife, and really beautiful photography that she also has. You can buy it as gifts. For your walls, but then she also has these amazing gifts, like these beautiful scarves with flowers and butterflies, and she has office gifts, tote bags, gift cards, beautiful gift cards. In fact, we've had them here in Yuma, Arizona, where we are today. So that's really nice. And so go to her gallery. She's got a brand new online gallery called CarreraFineArtGallery.com, and that's CarreraEra, so CarreraFineArtGallery.com. So welcome back, Margot. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
We're all full of the joys of spring. We're going to talk about flower power today. You know, that's the best thing, flowers.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite thing to photograph, actually.
Flowers. Cool. Is that what got you started? It was flowers?
You know, I have to say that my mother had the most beautiful gardens in our home. And all my great memories of being in the gardens was, taking care of the flowers and, walking around the gardens and picking them. And yeah, so flowers not only just, of course, are beautiful, but they bring back wonderful memories too. Yeah.
Right. It's important for parents to make sure their kids get some outdoor time, and gardens are really a super interesting way to do it. Because the little guys are going to be looking at the bugs, and the little girls are going to be looking at flowers, and then they learn so much.
Right. My mother, even when I was, I remember even in kindergarten, she knew all the botanical names of each plant. Wow. And so I would go around and say, oh, look, there's an Agapanthus. Cool. Now those are kind of going away from the brain now, but it's hard to remember them now without her pointing them out all the time. But yeah, she was really into flowers.
Oh, man. Growing up in Kenya as a little kid, Nancy had this magical garden. I mean, the things that grew in the equator zone, they're just...
Oh, my gosh. You could grow anything.
It was mind-blowing. The fruit and vegetables, and the soil was still really good and clean, Yeah. And the flowers were my friends. I'd run around and sing to them and play with them. And, and you learn, that was my thing, is to learn all the different plant names. But, I'm having a midlife crisis of memory.
Me too.
Of all of the botanical names, but I think that's what's so cool. As we travel the country, a lot of our national parks and state parks, national monuments, they are gardens in themselves with wildflowers, especially in the springtime and summertime. And then a lot of them have these ethnobotanical gardens where you can go in and learn about the cultural uses of plants. And then some of them have like native plant walks that you can do, like a nature trail that identify all the different plant species you're seeing and maybe what they've been used by ancient cultures, or what their importance are to like pollinators or the birds and different wildlife. So that's something that keeps us going, is going on these trails and reading a little bit. And maybe one of the best things is to go on a walk with a ranger and do a ranger program, because you learn so much. It's like when we went to the sequoias, and we're going back. We're so excited. We'll be in the sequoias this spring in late April. And we learned about here's the largest living thing by volume are the giant sequoia trees. The coastal redwoods are the tallest living thing, but the giant sequoias, here are these monster plants. I mean, these monster trees are just so massive, and it takes, you know, a bunch of people to hug one. You know, you can't just hug one on your own. But their little cones are so tiny, you could fit 2 to 3 in your palm of your hand. Whereas the sugar pine are these massive cones, but you would think it'd be the other way around. But you learn things like that by going out with the rangers, and I think that's an important thing to do that.
That is good. Yeah.
You know, when you say Agapanthus, I have to. That is so funny because Agapanthus. I mean, we have them in our gardens here, but their actual, like the layman's name for it, is lily of the Nile. And when we lived in South Africa, the Agapanthus was almost like a common flower. Yeah,
right.
Here it's really special, but over there, it's native to South Africa. So you would see them on walks, and I mean, they were just everywhere. So now I'm homesick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll run out and go
so
see
pretty.
one somewhere. We'll go see them. You know, that's when, you know, even when you go to botanical gardens. Now, you spent a lot of time in botanical gardens, Margot?
Yes, it's one of my favorite places to go to not only just photograph, but actually be immersed in nature, because they have the tall trees, they have the different species. And one of the things that I think is important is they have samples of plants from all over the world, and some of them are actually becoming extinct. And so these places are keeping these species alive and taking good care of them so that we don't end up having 0 of them. And I think that's one really important thing that they do. And they also, the gardens, they get you in touch with different parts of the world and what nature is like in different areas. And some of the ones that I'd like to talk about today, they actually have programs there, cultural programs, where you can go into a Japanese garden and have a Japanese tea ceremony and things like that. So you get in touch with other cultures and how they like to see their landscapes and what they grow. So I love the gardens. And again, that goes back to my mom. She used to always take me to them.
You know, I was thinking too, San Diego, you know, where you're based, is San Diego Botanical Garden, or Botanic Garden in Encinitas. They have the world's largest bamboo collection. So it's like you walk in, it's like being a bamboo bath. You know, people do forest bathing. You go in a bamboo bath by walking through. But they have those, you know, the Mexican garden with the topiaries, and they have art. That's another thing I'm seeing in a lot of botanical gardens we've been to, that they're incorporating art, and it's like these installations of sculptures and statues that change maybe every year to 2 years. So it's a really other thing that comes in. But San Diego Botanic Garden, I know we've talked with Julian Duvall, the executive director, over the years. We've done a number of interviews with him, and they are really big on protecting these endangered species, and they've even had theft. They've had like major drama where people go in and they're plant thieves.
Unfortunate.
And I didn't even realize they were like, you know, it's plant traffickers, but they did get their cactus back. And I mean, this, you know, it actually helped put the garden on the map publicity wise, but, you know, which is interesting. But there are plant thieves, and I had no idea. Just like, you know, orchids are sought after, different cactus are sought after. So there's extreme value to these endangered plants. And so it's really a special thing when you do get to see them. And I think your role as a photographer and what you're doing is so important. I've been reading studies on the importance of getting out in nature for heart health, for lowering your blood pressure and calming your heart rate, and fresh air and what it does for oxidation in your body. And they were saying that even looking at a photo of nature or flowers, anything to do with nature, can calm you down and has a positive health effect, which I never thought of. And here you are with scarves, and people are like literally wrapped in nature and gifts. So I think it's really the role you play as a photographer, and the fact that you've got the photos, but then you're also creating all these different gifts and products. I think that's really important. Do you ever think of that side as a photographer?
Oh, all the time, all the time. When I go to a doctor's office, and I, you know, I've been facing, I have metastatic breast cancer, and so I've been in and out of doctor's offices, in and out of places that are highly stressful for tests and procedures and things, and I go into an office and I see, like, one office I remember I had to do one of those cardiac stress tests.
Oh, wow.
And they had a picture of a forest in front of where you're running on the treadmill. And I just put myself into that forest, and I ran on the treadmill, and I did just fine. But I put myself there. I can actually look at the picture and just like go into it and remember the forest, remember the smells. And it's like I'm there. I'm not in this stressful environment where my mind is on something frightening. It's more in this peaceful place that I'm looking at. And so I would like to see all doctors' offices and test centers and what have you covered in nature. And wherever you have to sit and wait to go see your doctor, I'd like to see beautiful pictures of nature hanging on the walls. So that's where your mind can go, not in like, what if this, what if that, or, you know, what are they going to do? Or, you know,
I agree.
I think it's really important. And then the other thing I wanted to say, because you mentioned the gardens in Encinitas, is that the oxygen levels are so high there that you can literally breathe better. And sometimes when, you know, I live right now, I'm kind of in the center of the city, and we have like the xeriscapes where you don't need to use a lot of water. So there's not as many trees, and I wish there were. When I go to the gardens, I breathe better. Just the oxygen levels are higher. And bamboo, I'm told, is one of the highest producers of oxygen.
Wow. Really?
Yes, that's what one of the docents there told me. And I wondered why I always start out in that part of the garden, and I stay there for a while. And that's probably why I'm just getting that good oxygen, good clean air, and
wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting to me, because I think there is you know, when we share DNA with trees, so there's something about this connected heartbeat, and, you know, whether it's there or visual, but I think there is that fresh air and producing that. But I didn't know that about the bamboo part, you know. I know that I really would like to see the white coat thing go away, the white walls of medical facilities. Like, I mean, what, you know, used to be nurses for, you know, pediatrics. Everybody's fun with nurses' outfits and nurse scrubs and everything. Well, what was it? Who said, okay, now that you're over, you know, 13, now you have to have, you know, everything's white and sterile. You can be sterile and clean, but still have color. I know I went through dentist surgery at one point, and my dentist, awesome man, you would have loved him, Dr. Ruiz. He you know, I was in Mexico, and when we lived there, and I would just say to him, like, really, because I was paranoid of medical surgeries and everything, because I'm scared. But he was the one person who taught me about communication as a patient to the doctor. You have this communication, so when you understand what's going on, you don't have as much fear. It's, you know, knowledge is power. But I was telling him, like, okay, you know, your walls, you know, they suck. I'm sorry, we need color. But there was this one guy that was going around doing stained glass pieces for all the office buildings. So he got a hummingbird, and he put it in the window, and I would go look at the hummingbird, because I was taking worry stones with me to meditate, and he would actually help me meditate. This is my dentist. I'm like, I'm going to Alaska. I've always wanted to go there. He goes, no, it's too cold. You need to go to the tropics so you don't clench your muscles or your jaws.
Nobody wants a cold patient.
So he would go, every time I came, there was another little hummingbird, you know, a different one that they would swap out all the time. So I would focus on the hummingbird.
Do you know that that I was named by a tribe, my given name by the Q'ero in Peru. They did an initiation on me and made me an honorable shaman of the tribe, and they named me Mother Hummingbird. Mama Quinta. Yeah, Mama Quinta is what they named me.
Oh, wow.
And they said the hummingbird is the messenger of the mountains and the finder of lost souls.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And represents infinity
cool.
because of the figure 8 when they fly with their
Yeah.
wingspan. So that's good for you, you know. And my nickname in Kenya, they nicknamed me in Swahili is Kasuku, right? As a little kid because I talk too much. And now look at this running podcast and radio.
But Kasuku is a parrot.
A parrot.
In Swahili.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because, there it is.
I went because I talk so much, they'd call me Kasuku, and here I am doing radio. You know, I've got a blabbermouth.
Well, it's a good thing you do. We're happy that you do. It's a gift.
I want to go back to your point about what's in the doctor's office, because I remember as a child in the doctor's office about to get a polio injection.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
On the wall was this painting of a doctor with scrubs on and this huge hypodermic needle, and he's holding up this infant, and he's about to inject him right in the little buttocks. And that painting gave me a lifetime of, now you bring a needle near me, I faint. Because
I bet,
I was,
traumatized.
That painting was so horrific to me. And I don't know who painted it, but if you're a doctor, please don't put it on your wall. Don't do it.
Yeah, your patients will be so happy that you have nature on your wall, and they'll be so much calmer for you. So if there's any doctors listening, please, nature on the wall.
And potted plants are really good to clean the air in medical facilities. Because you go to a hospital, and the next thing you know, you get what was down 2 doors down or whatever.
I don't think they can. They probably can do it in the lobbies. I don't think they can do it in the office, because sometimes you get mold, in the water when you're watering the plants. Yeah, but wonderful in the lobby. Oh my gosh, that would be wonderful.
I see a lot of hospitals are doing roof gardens and exterior, like their walls. They're doing there's some changes being made to have gardens, meditation gardens. When we were in Nacogdoches, Texas, it's the garden capital of Texas, and there's this statue trail they have, a historical statue trail that tells the story, these bronze statues of people that helped found the city. It's also the oldest settlement in Texas. So you've got Stephen Austin, who the university is named after. You've got Carl Wilson Baker, who is a well-known writer. All these different people. And so we started going around and we did the trail. And we found one was a country doctor. And he's right outside the hospital. But lo and behold, is this, they don't even name, we do every park we possibly can. Even if it's a small pocket park, it's valuable because it's green space. It creates better air for a city environment. It creates places for birds and butterflies. And so to us, is any place that you can put any kind of garden, especially native plants, the better. But they had done that right outside the hospital. Here it was, a nice little gazebo, a statue, and a little garden area, so that people visiting or, whatever was going on, you had this space of calm. And it was right outside a church too, which was nice. But that, depending on what you believe or whatever, but it was this peaceful little area. And what's interesting is on Mound Street. And so they have all these ancient mounds within their city, from the ancient cultures. So there's this, I just feel like every hospital needs a garden to calm,
Yeah. Yeah, and I do see some even doctors' offices having a garden in the center, and the doctor's office is around it, and so that you could step outside and go into the garden, and then go back into the doctor's office. But they're starting to be built like that out here in San Diego, and those are
That's cool.
Better invention.
Well, I do want to tell everybody that Margot assigned Nancy and I to one of our Love Your Parks tours. We travel a Mission Possible story, and she says, I want you to go and document gardens across the country. And we're like, okay. And we're digging into our vaults. I mean, we've been doing this tour on and off since 2012, and I know we've done over 150 parks, and I'm thinking the garden map is right near there because a lot of parks, again, have gardens, right? Or they're wildflower destinations. And, you know, as we go, it's like, oh, even if someone is in the downtown has taken a piece of land and turned it into a garden, we should let people know, you know? So I mean, why limit? So anyway, that has now grown into us creating a map of all the gardens. So it's an interactive map. It's part of a whole series. All these stories, we've like, hey, this is a great way for us to keep, it's better than a blog for us. It's like, hey, we're here now, let's put it up on the map. So right now we're digging into archives and moving forward all at once. So if you go to loveyourparkstour.com or nationalparktraveling.com, under our Love Your Parks Tour section, you'll see interactive maps, and you click on that, you'll see the garden stories across America. And it's a map, and you can click on the little flowers to see the pop-up window with a photo of the garden, a little write-up, and it'll link to either a video, a story, or the website for the garden that we were at. Whatever information we can provide you with is there. So check that out. We're still in the process. And yeah, that's what I was saying. Nacogdoches is on there. Santa Fe Botanical Garden. Now, you would have loved Santa Fe Botanical Garden, Margot, because there was art all through there. And they had an ethnic garden. They showed how they did arroyos for cooking, because we're right part of the Pueblo culture there too. And so a lot of native plants, but then they showed orchards, and you wouldn't think in the high desert some of the things that would grow there. So it was really, really interesting. But what are some of your gardens that you think that we should go to?
Okay, well, I have two for you today. These are ones that I grew up going to, my childhood gardens. I lived in LA at the time, and the first one I want to tell you about is Descanso Gardens. It's in La Cañada, Flintridge, California. And they have, I don't know the exact size of it, but they have many different areas where they show the different gardens from different areas. They have one that shows, it's called the Ancient Forest, and they have all the primordial plants. And these plants were donated to them by a woman who had these plant gardens in her home, and they've created an entire garden with them. And some of them are possibly going extinct. So that's one of the things that where I said, well, thank goodness somebody saved the species and has donated it to a garden that's going to take care of it. And then they have camellia gardens, oak tree garden. They have native California. They have a Japanese garden that has the most beautiful, if you can get there during cherry tree season, cherry blossom. Oh my gosh, they have cherry blossoms and plum trees. So you've got these white, beautiful cherry blossoms, and then you've got these pink, beautiful plum tree blossoms. The way they have it set up, it's just gorgeous. They have an amazing rose garden, just rows and rows of different kinds of roses, and I've gotten some of the most beautiful pictures from there. For the kids, they have an enchanted railroad where they can take a little train ride through the gardens.
Cool.
And during the Christmas season, probably November through January, they have something called the Enchanted Forest of Lights. And they light up a 1 mile walk through the forest, through their best gardens. And you can go in the evening, and they have a light show, and it can be interactive. And it's just a lovely place.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I remember as going there, so many years ago, even as a child, and that's a beautiful park. That's now I want to go back. Because
Yeah, it is. And I went and visited a friend one day, and we were sitting down on the bench. We had just gone to the tulip garden. Oh, I love tulips. And we were sitting down, just having a chat. And I looked up in the tree, and the tree had lost its leaves. It was still like early spring. And you could see a heart-shaped branch in the top of the tree, and I think, oh my gosh, this tree is loving us.
Yeah, that's cool.
You just see amazing things. Sometimes I I remember walking through that oak tree area, and I swear I could see a face in that oak tree.
Oh, I love that. I love
that. And
I
took a picture because I said, that is a definite oak tree face.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
You see that with clouds and
yes.
and rocks.
Yeah.
And I always feel like the rocks and mountains, there's like, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there is somebody in there.
Yeah, it's like the nature spirit, right?
Yeah.
The nature spirit of the tree, the soul of the tree, maybe. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's fun, and I got some pictures there of the heart in the tree and the face. Yeah.
That's cool.
So the second one that I just think is most amazing, and maybe not known as well unless you're from the area, is the Huntington Gardens and Library. And it's in San Marino, California, near Pasadena. And there are 15 themed gardens and 120 acres.
Ooh.
It is amazing. And there's 2 art galleries, and these are major galleries. Like one has European art, and the other has current American art. And the European art is some amazing masters are in there. There's a painting of Blue Boy and Pink Lady, and those are very famous paintings, and they're housed in there, and sculptures. There's an actual sculpture garden where you walk around the garden, and there's these tall European sculptures of I would call them goddesses and gods, or whatever you want to call them. What you would see in Paris, probably, a sculpture in Paris like the David.
Wow.
But these line the entire area, and those are amazing. Again, there they have cultural gardens, gardens from Australia, gardens from a Chinese garden and a Japanese garden. Those again are my favorite. The Japanese garden has a tea house that you can see where they do the ceremonies, and sometimes they actually have ceremonial programs where you can go and watch a tea ceremony and they explain it to you. And the Chinese garden is around this gorgeous pond with this beautiful curved bridge and beautiful trees, species from China, and just very beautiful to photograph if you're a photographer. And then, of course, they have the gorgeous rose garden, and they have a children's garden where they grow plants that will attract the butterflies, because children absolutely love butterflies, and other things that they can interact with.
Oh, I love that. I love children's gardens. That's like
Me
San Diego
too.
having that one too. It's like so cool for kids to get in the dirt and understand nature and learn. I mean, sometimes it's, maybe you don't have a national park in your backyard, but you probably have a garden or some nature center that has some kind of program for kids to get out there. Like that.
Yeah, you could literally spend a weekend there, and
Oh
they're
my
like,
gosh.
you can spend one day and not see everything. And they have this wonderful gift shop that reminds me of the Smithsonian gift shop. They have all sorts of paintings that you can take. They have, jewelry, and they have books, and poetry books, and just, it's just amazing. I love that park. I always go there when I'm in the area.
And I want to tell everybody, Margot's got her two favorites here that she's talking about in the LA area. Of course, we've talked about San Diego quite a bit. But what we've done now is we've created a Big Blend community. So it's our own social site, kind of like Facebook, Twitter, really easy to use. And we have all these different groups, and you can go on the homepage of nationalparktraveling.com and you'll see right there, Big Blend community, come join us. And, we don't want to be the only ones out there experiencing these gardens. Of course, we're not, but we want everyone to be part of that experience and that joy. And so it's 2020. And I think there's something about the number 2020 that has a feeling of balance. It's like a new, fresh decade. And while the country may be divided, or the world actually at this point may be divided on politics and drama, there are things to do to get back to connecting over things we love, obviously our country. And what about gardens? If you love gardens, let's share and connect over these things. And so we started a series of challenges. One is going out for a 1-hour walk. See if we can together post 2020 hours of walks in 20 months. We've got one called Finding Your View in Nature. You're finding your nature view, that going out, just like what we're talking about, gardens is part of it, where you go out and you see this beautiful view, you calm down. So can we together have 2020 views? And so you post a photo up on our community, everyone posts where they are. So it's just 2020 views in 20 months. Now our new one, starting now, it's out there now, is 2020 garden experiences, whether you're in a park looking at wildflowers, it could be your own garden, or going to a botanical garden or a nature center. We want to see if we can have 2020 garden experiences together. You just post a photo and say where it is. So we've started that now. So see what you've done, Margot? You're getting us all out into nature and in gardens for some flower power.
I just want to say it's so important to visit these gardens. And the reason I made this challenge in the first place is I was up north and visiting some of the gardens up there, and they were in poor shape. And they were supported. A lot of funding has been taken away, and you could see the plants. They were gorgeous plants, but they weren't being taken care of as well. And all the money that came in is us going there and paying, the entrance fee to get in. And that money goes for the upkeep of these gardens, and it goes to preserving the species that may, go extinct, and then it goes for your own pleasure to, have these gardens being beautiful and taken care of, and being able to take your children there. And so I really hope that when you see a garden posted on this map, that you take your family there and support the gardens. I always, wherever I am, I always become a member of a garden, pay an annual fee to help support the garden, and that's awesome. Why I challenged you guys.
Oh, we like it.
You challenged us, and now we challenge everybody else. I love it because, it's a special thing, and I think you're really right. That's something that I love about these challenges, of the assignments, of the stories, now the maps and challenges, all of it, is that it's gotten Nancy and I, when we learned that when we started the tour, originally it was just national park units. And for the, especially with the centennial of the parks, which was in August 2016, we're like, let's do all national park units. And was actually at the very beginning, once we had labeled it and announced it, that we realized from many other parks that, hey, we're just as important and just as underfunded, and have maintenance backlogs and have pollution issues. And some places are loved to death, and have too many people going in. So they need shuttles. And so there's this balance that we need to create. And now we're looking in places, communities, and seeing things like gardens, public art, all these other kind of experiences, which kind of balances a destination. So if you're going to a national park, spend a day in the destination and see the gardens, because you're going to learn more as well about the plants in the park that you were in.
Absolutely.
And so you have this lighter foot and more of a well-rounded experience, if you will. So I think that's what's really, really cool about this. But we start to realize, as we start talking to like the docents and things, that just, we start to see all the important things, like you're saying, that gardens are having a problem too. And a garden is a park. Cemeteries, I can't even tell you, we're gonna have to do a cemetery map, because and we've got Holly Hansen, she runs Family History Expos, and she challenged us to go and find anything to do with family history. Well, everything has to do with family history, whether it's the cliff dwellings or the mounds, now graveyards. Well, now you just wait, you're going to see a bunch of graveyards on your map, Margot, because what we've discovered, like we went to Mount Holly. We had to do it because Holly said go get the family history, and it was named Holly, so we had to go. Well, Mount Holly is one of the oldest cemeteries in Little Rock, Arkansas. And you go and it's peaceful, and it's these really old tombstones, and it's really neat. It's interesting. And you've got slaves buried next to prostitutes, next to burlesque dancers, next to the banker, next to the governor. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like, they didn't go like, here, all the rich people over here and all the slaves over there. They didn't do that. It's all mixed up, which I find interesting. But this whole cemetery, we're having a problem with our cemeteries. Like Bayou Rapides in Louisiana is a National Historic Landmark, and they're having to do fundraising to keep these cemeteries maintained, just like a garden. And a lot of times what's happening is the master gardeners of a community are going in and doing the upkeep. So like Mount Holly, they have garden events every spring, and they have garden walks and garden tours in the cemetery. And that's how they keep it going. So it's kind of this interesting thing that we didn't think of until everyone assigned all these challenges. Like with what you're doing, they all overlap. And basically, at the end of the day, we see a lot of beauty in our country, and we see a lot of unsupported beauty. And that's you know what I mean, that yin and yang of it. So I always say yin and yang, but it's yin and yang. but so we do, going out and having these experiences, we hope everybody does step up and help in what they can, even if you can't financially afford annual fees or memberships, you can volunteer. And a lot of these places will have a free day, and you can go volunteer and do something. Maybe share the information on social media. If you're gardening, maybe look at using a native plant, to help the pollinators, that kind of thing. There's things we can all do. So I'm off my soapbox now.
Me too.
I get.
Just go and enjoy.
I know.
And let your children enjoy and get that experience too.
I mean, it's positive for everybody. You know?
It is.
I think it's so important for children. I mean, we all need to relax and get fresh air and feel a little bit of comfort when things are like highly emotional. It's really good to just go, like I love your model, wrap yourself in nature, and everything just seems a lot better.
That's immediately comforting.
It is. It feeds the soul.
It does. Lucas Nelson, Willie Nelson's son, has got his own band, Lucas Nelson, The Promise of the Real. And he's been on our show a few years back. And watching what he's doing right now is he's going and he's creating his own revolution of turn off the news, go grow a garden and build a garden. It's basically not saying don't listen to what's going on. You don't have your head in the sand, right? But get your hands in the sand too. Do that.
Get your hands in dirt. The earth. Touch the earth.
So I feel like what we're doing too, it all goes together on this. And I do want to touch on your new gallery website, CarreraFineArtGallery.com, because I think what's so cool about this is when people order one of your photographs, they can have it on a different material, right? From metal.
Correct.
You want to tell everybody how that works?
Sure. The gallery is set up where you can go and see different images. you can see landscapes. You can see, I have a butterfly area because I have a large collection of butterfly plants, flowers, and even I have a section for my scarves. But you can go and find the print you like, and then as you go to check out, you can decide what you want it printed on. It could either be the traditional print on photo paper, and could be framed or not framed. You can decide that. And then you go and you check. You can choose your size, whatever size goes on your wall the best. And then you can choose, if you're not going to choose the traditional paper, then you can choose metal. It can go on metal, and that has benefits because that gives you more depth in the picture, and it can be a bit more shiny, so it can be more, some people say it's more modern looking on the wall. You can have canvas where it looks like, a lot of people say my photography looks like it's actually a painting.
Yeah.
And so you can have it on canvas. You can have it on acrylic, which is another medium, and you can have it printed on wood. All that you can decide at checkout, and
Cool.
and whether you frame it or not. And there's pictures on there. It'll show the image, what it looks like framed in the one that you pick. So
Nice.
Cool.
yeah, so from picking the print all the way to how it arrives at your door, you can do it all on the website.
I love it. I love it.
That's nice.
And I love the scarves. You know, the
Oh,
scarves
thank
are
you.
so beautiful. And I want to thank you. You know, when you're in Yuma, we were part of the Yuma Bird Nature History Festival, and you sent us some gift cards, some of your beautiful cards, and I should say note cards. I always say gift cards, and people think I'm handing them money. But
Yeah, note cards. Yeah, that's true.
And they're beautiful. And I have to say, one of the travel writers that were with us knows you, Elaine Masters. And I was like, oh,
I love Elaine. Yeah, she's a good friend.
I know.
Yeah.
So, hey, this is Garden Gossip, so we get to gossip, right? About each other. So
hi, Elaine, like, if you're listening.
I know. She's so sweet. We went walking with her. We had a good time with her. She is awesome. Very, very awesome travel writer. Everyone, if you do wellgal.com, you'll find her. She travels with an environmental footprint in mind, of having a reduced one, as do we, as much as we can. And she was like, oh, I know Margot. Oh, so I'm like, man, this is like a small world.
I know how she started out with her travels. She had a program called Yoga on the Go. And so you could be traveling, and you could have a break and do your stretches and stay healthy, even if you've been sitting all day.
Wow.
Yeah, she started a travel club. Yeah, she's wonderful.
That's awesome. How cool. How cool is that? So everyone, please go have a look at Margot's work. Go to CarreraFineArtGallery.com. Also, you can find her map again on NationalParkTraveling.com. You'll see the map as we keep adding to it. So we've got a ton to put up there, and we're going to have a ton more as we travel. I mean, especially we're going back to the sequoias, and I want to put the meadows on there because there's all meadow magic. There's a thing. I want to live in a meadow. I know there's bugs, but I have a thing about meadows. They're like awesome. One thing before we go, I wanted to touch base on real quick is one thing we're noticing in gardens. We're finding more and more healing gardens and sensory gardens, where it's about smell, look, touch. That's something we're starting to see more and more of. So there'll be some more articles coming down the pipeline on that, everyone. And also our spring issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine will be dedicated to gardens as we travel as well. So watch for that as well. You can see that at blendradioandtv.com. But here we are. You know, we always get to play music. And I want to play this. It's called Lotus Blossom. It's from our friends Michael and Spider. And I want to play that for Margot. And for you, the audience, thank you for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's Garden Gossip Show. Don't forget our challenge. Come join it. Again, everything's at nationalparktraveling.com. And you can keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com. Gazillion bunch of websites, right? I know. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Margot. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Lisa and Nancy. Good talking with you.
And happy spring, everybody.
Yeah, get in the garden.